We streaming. Okay, we're live. Hello and welcome to Movie Buffs, a show that covers the best films and shows that celebrate those films. I'm your host, Shani B. You can find me on all the socials at It's Me, Shani B.
And I'm Cisco from Misfit Minded Media Reviews. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Misfit underscore Minded, or on Twitter at Rampage underscore Misfit, and my website, misfitminded.com.
Yes, so since we're not doing a formal show this week, we decided to do a little bonus show covering last night's Oscars telecast. There were some changes and some surprises. It was no surprise, of course, that Oppenheimer took home the big prize,
Right.
but there were some key surprises here. So why don't we start with our highlight moments? What were some of your favorite moments from this year's telecast?
Well, I did want to just kind of get your overall thoughts out of the way first before we get more specific.
Before we dig in.
Yeah, so in my opinion, I thought the show was mostly successful, and I can just just based on our rundown here and what we liked and what we didn't like, my like section is just larger and longer than my didn't like section. So I just think empirically I can look at it and I think that the night was mostly a success, which we can't always say. There was no Will Smith slap. There was
Yes.
no getting the best picture wrong and then having to change it. Jimmy Kimmel's had some rough years. Not
He
if you in
has.
retrospect, he's had some rough Oscar years. I think this was one of the better ones, and just in terms of winners, the
Same.
way that it was formatted, everything like that. What did you think? Do you agree with that?
I agree. Yeah, I think for the most part it was a success. I even when the Oscars are bad, I still am happy to watch them. I'm still
Yeah, I'm
excited
still gonna
about them.
watch.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. I like the Oscars and what they stand for, even though they have their faults, of course. But
yeah,
I did think this year was pretty good. I thought the stuff that worked, and the stuff that was like a little shaky. I hope we can tighten up in the future.
yeah,
But I did think it was a success overall, and especially with some surprises. Like I think that's what we're hoping for when we
yeah.
watch. So I did really feel glad that there was something like that. It wasn't all just paint by numbers by the end of award season where the same people always win over and over
Although I
again.
will say that is one of my problems with the Oscars every year, and just how and it's not about the telecast. It's just how the season is structured. How
Yep.
it's months and months of all these bodies giving out awards, so that by the time the Oscars goes around, like you say that it wasn't all by the numbers, but I was texting you throughout the whole night. I felt like we had a pretty good idea of what every
It was mostly by the numbers.
yeah, of what every award was who's gonna go to. So and that's to be expected with the Oscars. So I just think again, it's not a fault of the cast last night. It's just this. Why is this not in February or January? Push
Yeah.
this shit back, because I feel like it's even unfair to the actors and the filmmakers themselves, that they have to dedicate. Not only does you have to make Barbie or whatever, you have to spend the next 8 months of your career promoting it and
Mm-hmm.
going on all these shows, and they try and be nice about it, because I've heard them answer that question, are you sick and talking about Barbie? And then Greta Gerwig tries her best to be it's the best job in the world, but come on, I can see it. You can see it on their faces,
Yes.
that they're just so over it. And so I'm yeah, I agree. We shouldn't know what's going to win. I think it would be
Mm-hmm.
a better surprise element, and just give these actors some time off, some shit to do.
Yes.
They can be preparing their next project instead of
They
you
could
know
absolutely be working.
yeah.
Yes. Yes. I wish too that there was a kind of nuance to how you can always count on the Independent Spirit Awards to award things based on their own kind of rubric. And it
Yeah.
does feel like what award season has turned into is awards trying to guess what the Oscar will be. And
Mm.
so it's not only people winning over and over again per se, but it's also like the same person being nominated and losing for
Yeah.
months straight.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good point. It's yeah, they have to show up knowing they're not going to win. Everybody, and
Yep.
so we could talk about that. But I mean, that's what made the clubs that happened, was when Tim Robbins was introducing like Robert De Niro, and he was like his Oscar-winning performance, and then he caught himself, but everyone in the crowd was laughing like, "There's no shot he's winning this," which was so mean. I was like,
Exactly.
I get it. It was awkward, but like that's what it felt like to me. That everyone was just like, "Yeah, he's showing up, but like, there's no chance that he's winning this." And it's like, why not? Like, why does it have to be so safe and predictable?
Yes. Why doesn't each body have a kind of specific thing that they favor?
Hmm.
Even though, that would maybe be something people didn't like either. I still feel like if it was like the Globes always award movies that are mostly highlighting this. The
The Globes have more surprises, honestly, most of the time.
They do.
Yeah,
But that's exactly it. Is it's always the same people, and they're always either winning or losing for months at a time. And I feel like it's strange that it's like they're trying to predict who will win the Oscar with these award shows, rather than each standing for something they want to represent within the industry. And I think like that's why I prefer the Oscars. Like I
yeah,
watch the other shows, I keep track of those things, but it's like the Oscars is the one that should encapsulate all of it, and it should be like on top of those,
yeah.
not like in line with
No, I
those.
think it is. Like we complain all the time every year about this. Like, but I do still think it is the best award show, and not just because we're movie buffs.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because there's a star power element to it. Like, film as a medium has
Mm-hmm.
like inherently all these different departments that you can reward. Where it's not just like the Grammys, for example, is just different genres.
Yep.
Which is like fine, but like it's not the same. And that's their own thing. But like, say for example, like the hip hop category in the Grammys wasn't even televised. So it's like, I, as a hip hop fan, have
Damn.
no reason to watch the Grammys because that's like my favorite genre. So it's like there's
That's a good point.
these other award shows kind of drop the ball, I feel like, and don't do a good job. And I say that, and I'll be sharing some of my favorite texts from my mom and dad last night because it was
Let's go.
truly hilarious. But one of them from my mom was, first she asked me if I was watching. I was like, yes, of course.
Of course I am.
And then she was like, I am too, even though I haven't seen half these movies! Exclamation mark.
That's
And I'm
what
like, and I feel like that is, the case with a lot of people watching, probably. Um,
I
so
think
I'd be
that's why I
interested.
liked when it was earlier in the year, because then they
Yeah.
were sort of like telling you about the movie and then they gave you time to see it. And
Hmm.
weirdly, I feel like they push it back in the year because they're like, we're trying to give everybody a chance to see it. And it's like they don't know these movies. If
They
they're
don't.
not
Yeah.
in one of the major cities that these movies are coming out in, no one is advertising to them. So we
Yeah.
kind of needed the show to say, here's what you might have missed if all you really get to see is the popular culture. And like instead, the season's already over. It's like Poor Things is already on
Well,
Hulu,
and
which
why
is
not
great,
like
but you can't go see it in the theater and experience it in the theater the way you should.
and it's not like people that are watching are voting for this shit. So it's like it doesn't matter. It's like if this was in January or February and it won an Oscar, don't you think people would go and see it based
Yes.
on like this won the Oscar for this? Like they could promote it on streaming that
Mm-hmm.
way, or like when it comes out on Blu-ray or something like that. Like, so I just, yeah, I don't get that. I don't get why. I mean, they pushed it forward because of COVID, and I just feel like they haven't.
They never fixed it.
Yeah, they never went back, and it's like, what are we doing, guys? Like, this is so late.
We're so
um
deep in the year
yeah,
already, you know? I
3
feel
months
like that's
into a
weird.
new movie year.
Yeah, because movies that are at the theater this weekend are nominated all the way next year, and like
Yeah.
that's just a weird thing, especially because everybody always thinks that like Christmas is the big push for the Oscars,
Hmm.
and so it's strange because it's like, yeah, well, you'll also have 3 months to watch movies that no one's telling you about until the show is on. um yeah,
Well, and
I
I like
feel.
that too, though, because like that Christmas push thing is real, and there can be like campaigns for people that would never have you would never have thought, or movies that you never thought. And because of the later in the yearness of this year,
Mhm.
that Christmas push isn't
Powerful.
powerful. Yeah, because now there's a couple months to be like, actually, no, Oppenheimer was the best.
Yep.
It's just
Yep. And that came out like 7 months ago,
yeah. And so
like,
it's like, but like the Holdovers, for example, I feel like was a Christmas push
mm-hmm.
movie. That had like a lot of buzz because it's a Christmas movie and because like the performances and like I just felt like they're like, and I know it went to streaming probably around that time
It
too.
did.
And so like that's one I feel like could have benefited from being earlier, like the Oscars being earlier in the year.
Yes, I agree. I feel like January is usually a month of movies that aren't so great, so why wouldn't
Why
it? It
not?
should
Yeah.
be the month that we're pushing for everyone to see good movies.
I think
But
January. I think that's I'm like decided here live, like because February you have the Super Bowl
yeah,
and the Grammys. Maybe wasn't the Grammys in February
I
last
think
month?
so. I think so.
Yeah. So why not do Oscars? Started off the year strong, and then we can start clean slate now
Yep.
after the Oscars. Now we can focus on this year in movies, and
Yes.
so I don't know.
Agreed.
Now that we got all out of the way, like we could get into I think some of the more specific times. So
Yes.
I guess more general, like just to start too, like what did you think about the earlier start time? Because they started an hour earlier, and also daylight savings times was yesterday too. So
Yes.
I will say it was a little like disorienting, but having a day to like reflect on it, I actually kind of liked it. I will
Same.
say because daylight savings time is always disorienting for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so like if it would start later, like it probably, like it kind of offset it in a way.
Yeah.
Like I'll
Yeah.
say, where it's just I usually by the end of the Oscars I'm so exhausted, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
tired because it goes on so late. But like at the end of the Oscars yesterday, I was like, that was fun, and like I did go to bed, but because I had to wake up early. But I'm just like, I didn't feel as like it dragged because it ended early. That was the
Yeah.
other thing we should mention. They started late and they ended early. It's
Yep.
like so unheard of. Usually these things go
Fantastic.
so over.
Yeah,
So
even
maybe this
Jimmy
is the
Kimmel was
thing.
like looking for ways to stretch. And I'm like, is this a joke? Like, don't do,
Yeah.
like, let's get out of here. We have done everything we were supposed to do. But
Well,
I
and then Al
agree.
Pacino, it didn't help where he just like said 4 words and it was like, and let's go, we're out of here.
The
and I'm
names
sure,
that I see.
and I'm sure the producers were like, no, stretch, 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 like running around.
You texted me about like, why do they give the most important things to like these older folks who are just like trying their hardest, but
Oh.
like, they're putting so much weight on them. And I agree. I feel like asking so much of these great actors who should really just be coasting on all of their good work is a lot.
Yeah,
It
why
gets weird.
wasn't, easy fix, replace Tim Robbins with Al Pacino, they're friends, he can
Mm-hmm.
introduce him and then get someone else. Like there's no I understand the best actor of last year has to present the best actor of this, like yes, that's a logical thing that they have
Yep.
to do. What is the logic for the best picture announcers? It's never anything,
Yeah,
so it's
it's
like
never who won last year, which would be a fine with me. That'd be a
yeah.
fine, easy fix for me.
Yeah, like Michelle Yeoh or somebody,
Exactly.
or somebody everything everywhere all at once. Why not? Like anybody from that movie, come out. The Daniels, Kiwi Kwan,
Seriously. Yeah. Yeah.
anybody in that cast would do a better job. Like so, yeah, that's one thing that didn't work for me. That's just it's so anticlimactic what happened, because like let's break it down. So it's the biggest award of the night. A lot of us know already it was going to be Oppenheimer. No surprise there.
Yes.
Still, just again, as a telecast, the biggest award of the night, you have to have some suspense. Like,
Mm-hmm.
everything's been leading up to this. This guy, Al Pacino, comes out and he's either like one or two modes nowadays. You know what I mean? It's either like
Yes.
the loud, like, whoa, like Al Pacino, everybody knows,
Yep.
or it's like the just got out of bed, from
Kind of
taking a nap.
curmudgeon-y
And
Al
that's what he
Pacino.
was last night. So, which wasn't great. I would have rather had the coked up Pacino
Same.
performing guy.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe he's just, he's older guy. But again, why do this to him? So then he goes up with the envelope and he's kind of like fumbling around. And I feel like it's so quiet in there. You could just hear a pin drop.
Yes.
And he's just like, all right. And what you've been waiting for.
The 10
Mm,
films.
my eyes see Oppenheimer, and like literally everyone's looking around like, what the hell? Like, is
Yeah, that's how you're saying it?
yeah,
Like that's how you're gonna say the award for best picture goes to. Like some of the most base stuff where I feel like it could be easy. It could be so
so
easy and
easy.
straightforward. Somehow it gets complicated. And I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure if that's like the actors,
Yeah.
getting wrapped up in the moment or like the writing, because I think like some of the writing worked and some of it felt a
Well, it
little
looked like
dry.
too. I've seen some speculation because he had a paper with the envelope, which I noticed, and so
Yes.
people were like, that must have had the 10 nominees, which he didn't list. Another
No,
thing, you have to set up
he sure didn't.
some suspense, and so finally, your 10 best pictures are
Yes.
list the 10 films, so they get one last, you
I
know,
mean, to your point about the buildup, that's
yeah,
part of why listing the nominees can give you the authentic buildup of with
yeah.
every name you're reminded of. Oh shit, that was good. Oh, that was
And then
good
you
too.
cut to the person that worked on it or so, like, you know what I mean? Like there's a whole
Yes, it's
and so
smooth.
and it wasn't smooth because I feel like he did his own thing. And so like you could literally see the cameraman running up to get to Christopher Nolan
Yeah.
because Pacino just like blew it kind of like in a way
Yep.
by reading. And I've seen some people too I've tried to stay away from online and from podcasts so we get our own reactions here.
Nice and
So
authentic.
I saw a few though. So like I saw some people defending it and being like, what was wrong with it, like they already introduced the nominees throughout the night. And I'm like, well, that's not the same.
They
It's not.
also barely introduced them.
Yeah, it was like a little like a little scene from the movie, and then that was it. And so it just would have been nice. And that's just again like this is like, why is the best picture the hardest? Like you said, it seems like Jimmy Kimmel made a joke which I did think was pretty funny, where he was like, can we tear up the Emma Stone
Yeah, just
envelope?
so we don't have another mistake.
And then this happened, and it's like, oh god, he just can't escape. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just so it's not being ageist. Like, just have, if it's an older, like I said, Michelle Yeoh, she's an older person, but she seems like she could do a good job of presenting that, better than
Yes.
Al Pacino. That's all we're asking for. Someone
Yeah, I
that,
want Pacino to be here, but I want it to be a little bit more appropriate.
yeah. So yeah, that was unfortunate. I mean, it wasn't, I'll say like, so the La La Land Moonlight year, historic, once in a lifetime fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
Um I hate that uh moment and just like that year, just because like not just because they messed up. Again, there's two older actors, Warren Beatty
Yeah.
and I get it. Like, I don't put the blame necessarily on them, but it's just the fact that Moonlight didn't get their
The
moment.
full shine. That's right.
Yeah, they're the best picture. You roll out the red carpet for them and say, "This is your moment. Say whatever you want." And they had to kind of rush through it. And that was my favorite movie that year,
Oh,
And so
it's
I
so
just I
good.
hate that they didn't. So again, Oppenheimer didn't get this. They got to have a speech afterwards, but again, it kind of dulls the moment. It takes the air out of it. It's
Yes.
just, and you could feel that in the room. You could feel people looking around like,
What
so
are
he
we
says
doing?
he says I see Oppenheimer, but he could be reading the 10 nominees list. Like,
Right.
do we
What's
trust?
happening? Mm-hmm.
He didn't. Oh, and that's the other thing. You say the award goes to.
Exactly.
So there isn't that confusion or like mystery to it, which he also didn't say.
And I'm pretty sure on the envelope proper it reads and the
And the
award
award
goes
goes
to.
to, yeah,
So it doesn't just say a name. I guess maybe it has historically, but it doesn't just say a name usually. So there's
yeah.
that. And it feels like it should be so straightforward. I don't know. I
I'm
don't know.
also
Until I get the opportunity, I cannot speak to
I
what
also just
happens.
got reminded, which I think was it a Jimmy Kimmel year too, where they did the Chadwick Boseman. Everyone thought he was going to win at the end, and then it
And then it was Anthony Hopkins.
it might
I
have been
think
a
that
no host year. I don't know.
yeah, I was gonna say I think that's a no host year because it was like really random.
But another example of that's the reason you put best picture at the end
Always, no matter what.
always.
Yeah.
Yep. And but another example of just deflating what should have been a great moment if Chadwick did win.
Mm-hmm.
Um Yeah, and I guess on that note, let's awkward transition, awkward segue. Um, I think Anthony Hopkins, great performance. And that's what made it kind of sad too. That it's like, yeah, he could have won posthumously, but you also can't be mad because Anthony Hopkins is one of our best. Like it was one of those
Yes.
things.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that way when Emma Stone won for Best Actress because I was riding so hard. We this show Movie Bus we're riding so hard for Killers of the Flower Moon. We read the book. We saw
Yes.
the movie.
Yep.
We loved it. We thought it was great. And Lily Gladstone again campaigning for months, like
And
just
being like,
everywhere.
getting the award everywhere she went, like easily just being like, "Up, I showed up. Here it is. It's mine again." Just so straightforward.
Which again, that whole thing I think might have worked against her. Maybe like you could tell that maybe some voters were like, nah, like, I don't she's
They had
won
no
everything
love.
else, like, and
Mm-hmm.
so but again, I can't even be mad because I saw Poor Things the other day and I fucking loved it. It was
It's
amazing.
true.
And Emma Stone is a big part of why that movie is so
Uh,
amazing. So it's like
mm, it's
it's
true.
so tough, and
It's
it's like
true.
there's that whole racial element to it too, with the same thing with the Chadwick thing, where it's like, like first Native American woman nominated for Best Actress, but like so it would have been so great to see her win too, and like it's just unfortunate, that yeah, we're kind of learning about this in my class right now too, of just like the Oscars history and just like why the Oscars so white campaign had to happen,
Yes.
in the first place, and why there's still a lot of work to be done,
But I
even
guess
though it
like
has gotten better in recent years. It's just the fact that structurally the Oscars and Hollywood is just built like that, and it sucks. It does to we talk about these movies, and we try and push forward some of these movies that people haven't seen before, and Killers of the Flower Moon, and yeah, just to win 0 awards. I guess that's my strong dislike too on this
on this one.
sheet
Okay.
here, is that
Okay.
Killers winning 0. I did some research. This is the third time that a Martin Scorsese movie has won 0 Oscars.
What were
When it
the
was
other movies?
Irishman,
Okay.
and I don't remember the other one,
Okay.
but Irishman I
Okay.
vividly remember too. And that was a tough year. That was a very competitive year. That was a Parasite year. Once Upon a Time
Right.
in Hollywood. So I understood. This year it should have won something. Like it. I just
It was
that
hard.
movie. That's damn near my favorite movie of the year. It's very
Ooh.
close. It's there. It's Poor Things is up there. Killers is up there. It's between those two probably. Just
Okay.
just
Okay.
freestyling it right now. And so but like yeah, for it to get nothing, I get it, like, but Sean, I did see a clip. Sean Fennessy was saying that like actors don't really get nominated for his films either,
That's true.
and there just seems to be like this like not contempt, but I don't know, just like yeah, he's great, but like
Well,
he's
there's like
like
a standard where it's like he's at the highest standard, so he's not doing anything extra. And there is something
yeah,
about how the Oscars are
but
like,
it's a
I want something
masterpiece. It's like a
extra.
5-star movie. It's a 4-star movie.
I don't know. With some time after it, I don't think I'll
Oh, hot
revisit it.
take.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be honest. Like it came early in the season, and I felt disappointed in terms of the adaptation. Because after
But
reading the
that's not. I
book
feel
and
like that's
being
a
so
bad bar though,
floored,
because like, how many times are you gonna rewatch Oppenheimer?
I
Like
have already watched Oppenheimer twice.
I have
Like
too,
since
but
seeing it
still.
in the theater. But because like I think for me it's between Poor Things and Oppenheimer that like I
Okay.
agree the caliber of Killers is there. Like amazing costume production, performances, but there's no you don't have to invent anything there. Like Poor Things has to be completely invented.
I thought
And
adapted screenplay, the fact they didn't get nominated for that you're talking about invention, they had to do a lot of hard cuts and choices to make that adaptation. And I thought they did an amazing job with it. Like,
mm,
you know what I mean?
I feel
So,
like it left a lot to be desired. I wanted more of Clemens' storyline. I feel like they really
wow.
liked to focus on what these white guys were doing wrong. And
Eddie
I think one
B,
of the
no.
reasons why Lily Gladstone gets overlooked is because her character wasn't really given the respect it deserved. She
But
as an
that's the
actor, I
story
think,
though.
brought
That's the
that there.
story. Because I've
Yeah,
seen
but
this
that's
complaint
the
too.
liberty. That's the liberty that a director gets to have, especially when they're adapting something. They
But
can
it's a true
choose to do
story. You
something
can't make
different.
up. You can't
I mean, talk to Quentin Tarantino about Once Upon a Time. There are plenty of true stories that we can make changes to and take a liberty with.
I'm stunned right now. You came in
I
hot
gotta be
today.
honest.
Jesus Christ.
I just feel like after seeing Poor Things a couple weeks ago, it just
Okay, but
changed
do
my whole
you
perspective on all of the movies this season. And then seeing them compared to each other, I think also especially after seeing Anatomy of a Fall, that really like reminded me of like why I want each award show to really purposefully highlight something about the caliber of films, because it's too hard at the Oscars for them to be able to capture and honor every film that does deserve it. It's too hard at that point. And I feel like the reason that I think that they went for Poor Things at the Oscars is because it's technically a small movie, so it doesn't get the same amount of fame, even though it has somebody like Emma Stone. And for sure, Yorgos is like lifting in popularity, but I think he's still pretty divisive. And I do feel like people are like, everyone knows DiCaprio and De Niro and Scorsese, and we've
look,
awarded them
DiCaprio
already.
not even being nominated? Like they're you have to admit they're being unfair, I feel like, to
They
Killers.
definitely
And
exclude those guys.
it
Yes.
was like this when it came out. So like that's what I'm so pissed about is like, and this happened with The Irishman. It's like no one sees it. They just go online and they go fucking 3.5 hours. And that's all that happens. And then like how do I trust these Academy voters that they actually saw the movie? You
I did
can't.
like that joke from Kimmel when he was like, everyone wanted Greta Gerwig to be
Oh my.
nominated, and then being like, and you guys are the reason that she wasn't
Yeah,
nominated. Like,
exactly.
FYI.
And she should have been too. Like I agree with that as well. Like
Yep.
and so should Margot Robbie. Like I do feel like there were a lot. I'm not just pining for Killers, even though that's like one of my favorites. Like there were a lot of choices that I was just like stunned by. Like really, like
Yes.
this over,
Yes.
and like I haven't seen everything either. So it's like okay, I'm not
It's that
qualified to speak.
battle between what's popular and what they want to be popular and what they want to make popular. And it's a really weird juggling act, but it is something where like they've already given someone an award. Just like I think they were like, Lily Gladstone won all of the awards. We don't have to give it to her
Okay,
here.
by
They
that
like
logic, Emma
gave
Stone has
him,
already won an Oscar.
but
Lily Gladstone has not.
she's a sweet, manipulatable white woman. She even plays a character people want to do this to. So I feel like there's also like a low
I did some
key
research on this too because I
competition.
wanted to come in not being like, because I looked at the La La Land year,
Okay.
pretty weak year for actresses. So like I can't just be like
I can't
she
remember
shouldn't
who
have
she was up
she
against.
shouldn't have one for that. I don't remember exactly who. I'd say like the one that I thought was like, I liked the movie that she was in more was Ruth Negga for Loving. I don't know if you saw
Yeah.
that. She was amazing in that.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
like that movie a lot more than La La Land. So like if there was one I would like to see more, but I did some additional research. You know what wasn't nominated that year
What?
for Best Actress? Who wasn't nominated? For talking about snubs overall, Amy Adams for Arrival was not
Oh,
nominated for Best Actress.
shit. Dude, Amy Adams, she's also
In
unlucky
another
at the Oscars.
timeline, she wins that. Emma Stone's win this. I'm not as mad. You know what I mean? But
Fair.
like,
Fair.
but and
And
then
maybe we don't have the Moonlight issue, right?
right. And then I looked into that. Amy Adams has yet to win an Oscar.
I
She's been
know.
nominated like
It's pretty wrong.
crazy amount of times. And to be honest, Arrival is probably like one of my favorite performances of hers. So like
Arrival is V good.
that is
Yes.
bonkers that she wasn't even nominated. Like in this, but this is the Oscars. You know what I
That's
mean? Like
why,
they're so
again,
frustrating.
if there was more variation across the board and more films could just be recognized because shows were going to lift them up, then it wouldn't be like they're completely snubbed or they're here and they won everything. Because I feel like it's
But
the
yeah,
extreme.
Barbie taking 02 is equally upsetting to me as
Pretty
Killers, which
wild.
we talked about because
Yes.
like I was thinking about just where I'm coming from with this, just like with Killers does not work if Leo's not in that main part, Lily Gladstone's not in that part. Like I think that movie could have gone very wrong in other hands if Scorsese's not directing it. Like I just feel like there were so many variables they had to juggle to get that movie to be as good as it was.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Barbie. If Margot Robbie is not Barbie,
Mm-hmm.
and Ryan Gosling is not Ken, that movie fucking sucks.
I
Like,
mean,
you know what I
even
mean?
in the technical space, I was like, the hardest thing is I think that all of the technical awards, like production, costume, all of that, it was between Barbie and Poor Things because they were the most
Mhm.
inventive. The other movies were just artisans doing what they know they need to do, but they can look to history, they can look to
And
other
I guess Barbie
aesthetics.
won song. But does that
Yeah,
count?
but that was like a total given because if Billie Eilish is
Yeah.
anywhere, she wins
Well, I'm
anything.
just saying because I saw people say that got a donut too, which I'm like, technically, I guess not. But yeah, okay, that's my other dislike. Let's get into
Okay.
that. The
Okay.
song categories, they gotta go. I'm
They
sorry.
it's
They
a medley. It needs to be a medley. It doesn't need to be anything more than that. Why do they get more time than the films themselves that we're here to honor?
I get it, like because I've seen people be like, "Well, then the show would just be boring," and I'm like, "Okay, like have a few performances." I'm just Ken. That was a given. Everyone wanted to see that,
Yes.
and that was amazing. Slash
Yep.
came out. Gosling killed it.
Yeah, he did.
Everyone was delighted. Like the shots in the crowd,
Yep.
like the choreography. Like they took that from the movie and put it on screen on the Oscars. That's exactly what they needed to do. So
Yes,
that was a
exactly.
success. Do we need the Hot Cheetos song? Do we need that?
I
Like,
don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah.
who saw that? Like, what? I just,
It's a
oh god,
controversial story even. Like there
I know it's not true. I heard like it's just why even yeah yeah. So I just there's too many like songs that they perform that's just like so unnecessary. Like, this is
even
not the
if they just did
Grammys.
a portion of the songs, like you could do everybody by themselves and be like, everyone gets their moment to do it. But like doing the whole song slows everything down because most of the nominated songs are slow. You
Hmm.
know, like it's
That
rare
and
that
that's
a
the other.
song nominated is fast paced.
And then Amanda on the Big Picture, like her whole thing is like it's bullshit because most of these songs have like they're not integral to the movies. Like
Yes.
they tag them on the end credits
Yep.
and then they just to get the Oscar. And it's like,
Yep.
yeah, that's some fraud shit. That's some category fraud shit.
Absolute
And that's
bullshit.
why I wanted I'm Just Ken to win because that's like an
Same.
epic song in the movie that everyone knows. And so of course they went with like the more prestigey like serious Billie
Mm-hmm.
Eilish song. And like, like you said, it becomes kind of a popularity contest because you get the feeling that, it's just, oh, Billie Eilish, we like her. Let's
Yeah.
vote for her,
So we'll vote for her. Yeah, I miss when you could tell that the songs that were nominated were in the films and integral to the films.
Yes.
Because if you watch movies from the 80s, you will hear an original song that is written for the film every time. Even if it's a random comedy, you'll hear these
Oh, Eye
songs.
of the Tiger. I mean, like,
Yes,
yeah, it's just,
exactly, exactly.
and so,
And
yeah.
it's weird. It's weird that the music gets more promotion than the films because, like, when they did the montages across, they used to have someone introduce it to be like, now, like, this is this movie, and then we'd see the scenes and we'd know, like, this is one of the Best Picture nominations. They
Hmm.
sort of did that, but they totally flubbed it. They like showed it
Yeah.
to the wider audience on the tiny screen. It's like, I'm at
Hmm.
home. Give me the full screen image. I
Yeah.
don't need to watch them watch this clip. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
And
mean, we can segue into two. Like, there's two ways we can go with this. Either I wanted to talk about the Wes Anderson win, or we can talk about on clips and how they're the clips. What
I
do you want?
mean,
Where do you want to
they're.
go?
I was gonna say that we should talk about them both because I do feel like the transitions across the board are hard. Whether that's like between two awards or between like moments, whether they feature the films or not. Because I think like I want the montages. I want there to always be
Same.
movies
Yeah.
transitioning me from one thing to another. And I did feel like they were weird about that
It's
this time
another thing
around.
where like I feel like every year I can feel this where like the producers are like they don't know who their audience is, and so they're like trying so desperately to get everybody and everyone, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's not what this award show is. Like,
No.
you're never going to have the ratings you did in the 90s like and beyond. It's such a losing mission to like put on yourself. So like just celebrate the movies. Like, you don't need to have Bad Bunny and The Rock, like, come
I mean,
on.
if you
Just like
do, just let them be a part of this. Like Bad
Yeah,
Bunny is great in Bullet Train. He's an actor.
right, he is.
So is The Rock. So I guess like
But I
that's
mean,
the
yeah,
one
and I didn't.
thing
It's not
too.
that I don't mind them doing that, but like what they gave them was shit. Like it was just like The
Yes.
Rock being like, "Oh, I guess you're not so bad of a buddy." Like it was.
Yeah, the bit writing was something else. And then when people improvised, it also got weird. I just wish it was less like I wish it was less about the presenters having a moment at the Oscars and more about the presenters also being like, "This is me respecting the industry I work in by being straightforward." Like Zendaya, she won the whole thing for me. She came out all by herself,
Wow.
didn't need to do a bit with anyone, and very straightforwardly announced an award. And she looked great and calm and smooth. And I feel
Yeah.
like it's when you try to be like, it's me at the Oscars, that it always goes sideways.
Yeah, like because even when they are like funny people, like Melissa McCarthy, with Octavia Spencer, it like ran on way too long. Where it was just like, can we get to the Oscar
Yeah.
now?
What's the
Like,
award you're here to present, please?
again, I love both of them, but like
Same.
it just like you said, it just like the pacing was good, and that got in the way of it every time. And so, yeah, the Wes Anderson thing, I just wanted to mention, like he won his first Oscar. I'm a Wes guy, I love his movies.
Same.
Asteroid City is another film I thought got unfairly treated because this narrative that Wes makes the same movie every time and blah blah blah, and his films are too twee or like whatever the narrative is, it's always annoying. And again, people don't even see the films, I feel like, half the time, so it's
Yep.
just whatever. But he won for short, what is it, short film or whatever,
Yeah, live
um,
action short.
live action short, and didn't show up. So that was awkward. But again, like that sucks that that was like his first Oscar win, honestly, because he's deserved it so many times before. And it's the same thing with Scorsese. Like he's one of those auteurs that his reputation, I feel like, gets I don't know, like
Well,
they
it's
just,
weirdly divisive. People
yeah.
either really like his movies or they think they're pandering, and I feel like they do that to Wes Anderson too. And that's why I don't love when someone who could make a feature is in the short form categories, because I feel like it's the fastest way to get an
Yeah, we talked
Oscar
about
if
that.
you
It's
can
like
do it.
it's the Billie Eilish thing. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because it's just like
Yes,
they see Wes Anderson, they're like, oh yeah, Wes,
I'll go for
he,
him.
yeah. And how do you avoid that? It's hard. But yeah, there is that thing that I hate. Like it's the same thing. Someone brought this up with like why Giannis Antetokounmpo isn't being in the MVP discussion, and I think it's the same concept. He's so good.
Mm-hmm.
He's so amazing. He puts up consistently great numbers all
Always.
the time
Mm-hmm.
that like people underestimate. Like they expect even more amazing. Like he set the bar so high, and so
Yes.
I feel like it's the same with like Scorsese and
Yeah, he
Wes
has to do something
Anderson.
out of this
Yeah.
world. Um,
Just to compete. And it's like I don't know how he fixed that, but I really liked Asteroid City too. That was one of my favorites
I
too
mean, I
last
liked
year.
Moonrise. I feel like I wanted Moonrise to take everything, and I think that's also what kind of stinks about the Oscars is the artist is rarely getting recognized for a masterpiece they made, which is why I think I am obsessed with Oppenheimer, because I really think Oppenheimer is a true on masterpiece, and it was
Hmm.
appropriately awarded the year that it
Yeah.
took place, which I think is like crazy rare, but also impossible because the
Hmm.
films it was up against, Barbie is also a masterpiece. Like
True.
it's just
It's
hard.
funny because I feel like the Barbenheimer phenomenon, which we haven't touched on yet, like I feel like that helped Barbie box office wise, but hurt it awards wise. And it's kind of the like I don't know, like but then Oppenheimer got like the awards because it's the more serious movie. People took
Yeah.
it more seriously probably, but
I feel
yeah,
like
it's
they were trying to
unfortunate.
use each other to create a cross audience that they should have just left alone. Because I
Yeah.
think Barbie would have made plenty of money from the children that are obsessed with it, from the
But it worked. I
people
mean, it
who
was a
love it.
successful crossover. Like they both made buku money, like
They
just
sure did.
just from that like weird pairing of movies that came out at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just I just rewatched Barbie recently. We were talking
Oh,
about it in one of my
so good.
classes, and that movie just still holds up. It's just still so funny. It's such a good time,
It's so well
and
done,
yeah.
executed amazingly. That's the sad thing about the Oscars is like it's the best of the best, but only one can win, and they all deserve to win.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know where we go from here, but yeah, show the damn clips. Show the damn clips. That's where I wanted to go. Like,
Please.
like okay, we could talk about this on my dislike part.
Okay.
The actors coming out and introducing the best actor and actress awards. I just thought it was clunky. Like,
It took
it's
a long ass time.
long ass time. Like literally 5 actors, they each get a couple minutes to monologue about another actor. It was like,
I don't want to
what
watch
are we
that.
doing? You know what would make this shorter? And he's nominated for this movie. Cue clip
Yes.
of a scene from with them in the movie. And then that way people that haven't seen the movie go, "Oh, that looks good." It's like
Yeah, yeah,
it's
let the
not rocket
movie
science
speak for
here.
itself.
And
Why am I gonna see it because one of these actors introduced it, you know?
it was, I mean, again, some of those lineups were crazy. I love like a lot of the actors that they brought. Nick Cage talking to Paul Giamatti was
Epic.
hilarious,
See, like I
and
want
like
Nick Cage to just talk about all five of these actors and their
right,
performances.
he could have just went up and just did like all five and or
Yep.
like just. But again, yeah, let the movies. They're afraid. I feel like everyone's afraid to be sincere now, and it's like the Oscars is a sincere award show.
It should be.
Let the clips speak, like
Yes.
in there. That's kind of like a thing, like oh, cue their Oscar clip, and it's like who cares?
Yeah,
Like
that's what we're here to do.
yes,
If you don't
you're the
like it,
Oscars.
leave. Exactly.
So fucking weird. I mean, I just yeah, it didn't work for me. I kind of gave it a chance. Like we when we were texting, I was like, oh, this is weird. I guess we'll see if I like it more. And then like the third time they did it, I was like, all right, I'm over this shit. Like I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
fully.
it was an interesting experiment that I feel like they need to just
They
like
also do it every few years. Like every few years, they're doing it again, and it has never worked. It's never smooth. But for some reason, every once in a while, they're like, let's truck out a bunch of people who won this award. Let's remind people. And it does
yeah.
feel a little. It feels like a little pandering in the wrong way too, where I'm sort of like, are you going after the audience who's watched for a while? Because even I'm like, yeah, I saw some of these people win their awards, and still, I don't need the refresher. I do remember.
Yeah, exactly. Some other good things I liked. We talked about a lot of the snubs. I feel like to go with the awards that I was happy. The first time Oscar wins, I feel like there's a lot of people that won for the first time. That's
Yep.
always exciting. So
Mm-hmm.
rather than what have you, someone winning their Meryl Streep winning her 40th Oscar or whatever, or
Yep.
John,
Yep.
like so, Christopher Nolan, he's one of our guys. We did a whole thing about his filmography last year and Oppenheimer, and so he won for the first time. Hoyte van Hoytema, one of the best cinematographers in the industry right now, won his first Oscar. He also shot Dunkirk, which looks
Mm-hmm.
equally amazing. Could have won for that, honestly.
Yeah, the
Um,
caliber of his work has been there for a while.
Killian Murphy, again, another guy I've loved since like 28 Days Later. Like and the
Epic.
fact they're making 28 years later now just makes me so happy.
Yep.
I want good things for him. First Irishman to win an Oscar too, which is insane.
Let's go.
Uh,
But wait, isn't Daniel Day Lewis an Irish guy?
is he? I don't know. Again, I see these things
It was a long
online.
ass time ago, so
I
no
see these
worries.
things online, and so I just go with them. I don't fact check them, so maybe that's a fault of mine. But
I
I
mean,
saw
who
Ireland
knows?
making a huge thing about it, which it felt like authentic to me that
I
it
could
was the
just be
first.
confused because Daniel Day Lewis is a method actor,
Maybe he's
so
like
he could
Scottish
have
too,
just
though. I
played
always
an
get those
Irishman.
confused sometimes. Yeah, exactly. He played an Irishman in Games of New York, so maybe that
Yeah, I could be definitely getting it confused. But yeah, like the Godzilla -1 win
Yep.
was really surprising, and I thought like an amazing, just a reminder of the fact that like those movies do good money at the cinema. People want to see them,
Oh, made a crazy
and
amount of money, and
yes,
I loved how the creators like they were so excited and like like even like some people again would be embarrassed that this is a B movie or whatever. They fucking brought out their action figures. They had their shoes. Did you see their shoes? They all had Godzilla heels on them.
let's
Like the
go.
Godzilla claw was the heel. It was crazy. And like
That's
these guys
awesome.
are nerds for Godzilla, and that's who you want to make these movies. Like it was
Yep.
an awesome thing that they were so happy.
That's the
Other
level of care and the level of passion that I want to be awarded.
exactly. The other first time winners I wanted to highlight just real quick. Davine Joy Randolph, someone who's also been really good for a long time. Very
Mm-hmm.
happy to see her win. I also thought she could have won for Dolomite. What is that? Dolomite's My Name.
Yeah, Dolomite is My Name. She was very good in that.
Really great. She was nominated for that, but didn't win. And then RDJ, who's been nominated, like I think this is his third time, and wanting
Let's go.
Iron Man, fucking Iron Man, and the creator of Dark Knight are both Oscars winners. We'd love to see it. Superhero movies maybe taking an L right now, but the original guys,
The
who were,
quality.
the 2008, those two movies changed the game. And now they're Oscar winners. It's crazy how Hollywood works sometimes.
And he was just so good. Like, RDJ is another example of not like a reparative Oscar by any means. Like, he earned it so hard.
Yeah, and
So
playing
good.
against type, he's usually the likable guy, even though he is like a sarcastic asshole most of the time.
All of
Yeah.
that.
But
Not
like in
time.
this one, he's just straight up like vindictive, like
So
villain.
serious.
Yes.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Just boiling. Like you could just see him boiling in every scene. Just about this beef he has with Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Like that was real. I could feel it come off the screen.
Exactly. So well deserved there. Thought the John Cena bit was so unexpected and hilarious. Like I've been watching this dude since I was like a kid. Like, and so for him to first be at the Oscars, I thought was funny.
Pretty amazing.
And then fully nude, like that took literally a lot of balls. Like I wanted to say that. Like
yes.
He's just
I wanted to get a peek, I'll be honest.
Live in front of millions of people, showing his bare naked body, basically. Like
fantastic.
That was. And yeah, I thought it was a good bit. Like that was one of the funniest bits of the night.
That's what I want, right? I don't need weird surprises that you're going to try to manufacture with like people who feel a little nervous and they don't know what to say, so they act all weird. I want like kind of structured thoughts, like the rehearsal of it all.
I just put this together. He's also in Barbie. Maybe that's why he was there.
He is. Yep.
God. So maybe not as random as I thought, but still very random. I don't know. Like I didn't put that together till right now.
Well, I mean, he has really like pushed himself into the industry, because I'll be honest, I think that The Rock is a better actor. I think that like Dwayne Johnson for real is a good actor. Like he is given a script and he actually works with it.
Yeah, I agree with
that.
And
I do think John Cena is like still shaking off some of the WWE cobwebs. Like he still telegraphs a little too much.
The joke about the jorts was killed me because he legit used to wrestle in jorts and it was hilarious.
Right. It was like a good marker of the fact that like he's a good sport and he does want to do this work. He wants to be a part of it and be better, and he's willing to make a joke of himself.
Make fun of himself.
To be. Yeah.
And Margot Robbie was definitely blushing in that. That was pretty funny just seeing her reaction.
I love that. I love that about it.
Arnold and Danny DeVito, the twins reunited. Again, one of my highlights. Them together, just comedy gold. Like, let's get Twins 3, please.
Right now.
And then which has been rumored forever, and I don't know what's happening with that, but I would love to see it. And then the cut to Michael Keaton, like the whole Batman bit about like, Arnold being like, son of a bitch, like under his breath.
My greatest weakness against me. Love. So
I love, and then Danny DeVito, he threw me out of a window. And Michael Keaton just fully straight face doing, Batman. God, it was just the three of the best guys. Like that's again what the Oscars should do. Just get the best guys and just make good bits for them. That's it. That's all I need to do.
Yeah, thoughtful bits, things that make sense rather than trying to kind of manufacture something, because I do feel like you can tell the difference. You really can. I think I liked a lot of things about this show. I think like technically there were some good things executed in terms of trying to get things to go faster, trying to have things with momentum. I really liked when Mulaney came out and sort of showed us like what it looks like to be a fan of movies, but to also understand how silly they are. Yeah, exactly. Like
I'd also like him to host the Oscars one year. Yeah, because Jimmy Kimmel's fine, like he's acceptable, but he's never like exactly, he's safe. You never walk away going like, oh my god, that Kimmel monologue from the Oscars. Yeah, it's just like most of his jokes I put it was like 90% like puns and dad jokes, and like
I gotta admit, I'm kind of a sucker for a pun. I do think a pun is really funny when I don't see it coming.
Well, some of them were okay, like the Trump one, like "Isn't it past your jail time?" was pretty funny. Exactly. But then like other ones were just like groaning from the crowd, and I was groaning too. I'm just like, God, that was horrible.
Trying to get the joke, trying to catch it.
Yeah.
But
It
yeah,
wasn't Joe Coy bad, but some of them were just still like, come on, bro,
yeah.
you could do better than that. Where are your writers at?
It's just such a yeah, it's such a hard balance to strike because it's like we kind of want that edginess, but we also don't want to be made to feel uncomfortable. And so I feel like that's why Kimmel always comes back. Like he can do that. He can have those moments where like it gets a little weird, but he doesn't react to that negatively and he doesn't try to go overboard to win the audience back. He just like accepts this as part of the role. And I think a Mulaney could do the same thing. I think Mulaney could also roll with, oh, I said something that you guys didn't want to hear, no worries,
And this
I'm
guy
back.
clearly loves movies. Like his
Yes,
one thing was like recapping Field of
I
Dreams in
love Field
like
of
a
Dreams.
minute, and it was so fun. And it's like, get this guy, like he clearly loves the shit. Like he's a
Yes,
sucker. And so
this is
like
what
that's
we
my
need.
problem with the Kimmel thing too. Is like his humor is like, I'm just an average guy, and like
Mm-hmm.
Killers was 3.5 hours long. I'm still watching it. Ha ha ha. Like it's just, I'm done with that. Like let's get someone who actually
Who
loves
loves
movies.
movies?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I want that too, for sure, for sure.
um
Um,
Yeah, I have a couple likes and a couple dislikes
okay,
left. So I think we're doing pretty good here. Poor Things winning all the design awards again. Not mad about that at all. Barbie looked really good too. I would have like that.
I'd
It
like
was
them to
it
have like
felt
traded a little.
yeah, it felt like between those two, but again, Poor Things was like literally blew me away. Like I
Next
could
level.
not believe how much I liked it. So,
Same.
and a lot of it was because of like the makeup and the set design and like the
Yeah, the
fashion of it.
invention of everything.
Yeah, so it's hard to do that. I also thought Zone of Interest winning sound was like a no brainer. Like I know you haven't seen that yet, but like
I just can tell. I could tell.
yeah, there's literally like a second movie going on in the background that you have to listen for, and that's because of the sound. So just felt like that was destined to win. I know some people wanted Oppenheimer to win that too, but I was like, Oppenheimer, calm down. They can
Yeah, it's gonna get a
Oppenheimer,
lot of
yeah.
recognition. Mm-hmm.
And it also won international feature, which everyone knew was kind of coming.
Yep.
And then the Gosling and Blunt Barbenheimer bit, I thought was the other
Pretty fun.
presenter. They're both like really funny
Great
and
chemistry.
like Gosling again, he just kills me. Like his reaction when he was like covering up the microphone, like no one heard that, no one heard that.
Yeah, just like a real moment, like authentic, happening in real time, but not like not weird, not forced.
Yeah, I like when he was like, that it's called Barbenheimer, not Oppen Barbie, because you guys are riding our coattails all season.
Yep. And
Just
then
so
Blunt just being
good.
able to turn it right back around and be
Yeah,
like, yeah, well, we're the ones taking home all the
yeah.
awards.
And then the dislikes. I only had two more. Again, I thought majority of this discussion has been things we liked, so that's a good
Yes.
sign. Keep it up with those things,
Yep.
and listen to us on the things we didn't like because we're the experts.
That's right. That's correct.
The stunts category was such horseshit, and I just have to say, like, if you're going to not give them an award, do not even mention them at all, because
Right.
that just felt like the most pandering bullshit.
Give them an award also. Like, what the fuck?
It
Give
was
them an
like, and
award.
they had a montage, and they were like, "We can't make these movies without you." Anyways, next award. Like, what? You can't do that. You
No.
can't do that either. Like, guys, Tom
You
Cruise
guys
almost kills
went
himself
under.
every
You had
movie.
5 minutes left. You could have given an award out.
So I know casting is going to be, rightfully added in like 2025 or something.
There better be
Stunts.
stunts too.
Stunts has to. I'd also like to see like voice acting. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
get Bradley Cooper a Rocket Raccoon Oscar so he can move on. Uh,
Fantastic.
but yeah, voice acting, like, and then last thing I didn't like, the In Memoriam. I think we both agreed was pretty terrible.
So bad. Just like disrespectful to be like,
Yeah,
let's feature these two guys. I don't know who they were. Maybe other people do know, but it was just so awkward. Like they were filming them more than they were showing the people who have passed away. And I'm sort of like, it's not supposed to be entertaining. It's supposed to be
yeah.
respectful.
And this might be just me like being like uneducated or whatever, but whenever I hear that song, I just think of Will Ferrell and
I
Step
was gonna
Brothers.
say, if you're gonna
Like,
use this song, it has to be Will Ferrell. You can't bring anyone else. You
I'm
can't use
sorry,
this
Step
song.
Brothers ruined that song for me. I cannot
It
like.
elevated that song,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Well, like
But
hearing it
yes,
as a regular song, it ruined it for me as far as that. Like, it's just now I just think
agreed.
Will Ferrell, like so. Yeah, so I don't know. It wasn't great. I mean, they mentioned a lot of people I admire and stuff, but it just again, if like you're to your point, it just felt like look at these performers singing, and then oh
Yeah,
yeah, and there's some
watch this
slideshow
dance
bullshit in the
number.
background. Like what?
Yeah, it's so awkward, so
Yeah,
so awkward. Especially because it's sort of like,
and they
yeah,
always
let's
do
just.
this. They had like an Oscar, like a choir, like a church choir one year. Do you remember that? Like it was just I'm like,
It's too
stop doing
much.
this.
Yeah,
Stop doing this. Have one person on a piano playing something and that's it. That's all you need. And
because
like
it's not about them.
yes.
Jesus. Like, it's not about whoever is on stage. It's about the people who gave their careers. Like, they were on Friedkin for like 2 seconds. And it's like, this is a pivotal
Crazy.
guy. There's
Yeah,
so many people.
his face being like blown up more than like his something of his work. You know what I mean? It's like
Exactly.
it's
Ridiculous.
crazy. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I
That's all
mean,
I had though.
obviously, yeah, I think, our opinions are often in line. They're only subtly disagree on like some taste things, I think.
We'll be
But
talking about Killers of the Flower Moon off air. I'm still not over that
absolutely.
hot take you had.
I'm coming at it so hard. No, but I think like for me, I just want things to be tighter.
Yeah.
I want the montages to be thoughtful. I want them to be the through line of this thing. Like this should be about celebrating the year in movies. So whether or not movies are nominated, there should still be a kind of encapsulation of what happened in film this year, regardless. And that should be something that speaks for itself. If you're nominated for an award, I want to see the scene that you're nominated for. I want to see these things because that's what's going to get a person who's never seen this movie to maybe sit through something that's hard to watch. Like I don't know how many people are really going to be able to
And
sit
that's why I
through.
guess if Barbie didn't win anything, it still was the most popular movie of the year. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the Oscars does function in that way, like you're saying,
Exactly.
like, to
Yeah.
get people to see some of these things they wouldn't have, so
Otherwise.
if Emma Stone winning gets people to watch Poor Things, like that's a win for me, but
Exactly.
I just wish
Exactly.
Killers of the Flower Moon had some of that too. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
um,
I want it to be about respecting stuff. I know that people are like, it's just a bunch of people giving themselves trophies,
patting
but like
themselves
it
on the back.
isn't.
Yeah.
Like it is also about how like I love movies and these movies were pristine and I want them to have respect, even if they're,
What's I
you know,
can't I'm gonna butcher that guy's name, but who won for American Fiction? I really liked his speech. That might have
I
been my
forget his
Cord
name.
Jefferson. Cord
Yes, Cord, I think is
Cord
correct.
Jefferson. Yeah,
I feel bad that I don't know
I
him
know.
by heart yet.
It's his first movie,
But
but
American
I did
Fiction
watch
was
American
so good.
Fiction. It was really funny and
Loved
like
it.
yeah,
And
and
so
so
good, so authentic, like a grounded story. I feel like a good example of why, again, we have to feature all of the movies, and
but
we need to
he made a
find
case for what
ways.
you're saying. He's like, we don't have to have every movie cost $300 million. You know what I mean? Like we can
Please,
make a lot of these smaller ones, and this is what the Oscars is for. And
that's
like
right.
this could be meaningless, but I wouldn't be up here accepting this award for this movie, if
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't for the Oscars. So it's like there are some legit reasons for it. Before I know we're
Yes.
running out of time, I did promise some of my mom and dad texts. So
Okay.
before we
Yeah.
get out
Let's
of
hear
here,
some.
really funny. Okay, here we go. During the I'm Just Ken number, my mom goes, "Was this really nominated?"
Yes.
And I said yes, and I hope
Is
it
this
wins
real life?
too. And then when Cillian Murphy won for Best Actor, you happy about this win? Heart face, I am.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Because she likes Cillian Murphy, and
My mom too. My mom
moms
too.
love Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, from
Uh,
Penny. What's the show that they're on? I have the wrong name for it because I want to say Penny Dreadful, but that's my
yeah, it's
homie
not Penny
Josh.
Dreadful. Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders. There it is. Yes, moms love Peaky
Yeah.
Blinders.
And then when Pacino came out, wow, he's old and he just had a baby.
Yes, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, him and De Niro still being dads out here.
Okay, then that's it for my mom. Then for my dad, um he said I'm rooting for Paul G and Robert D and Paula G. And I said, Paula G? And he said Gladstone. I said, Dad, it's Lily Gladstone.
It's Lily G, Dad. That's really sweet. That's
um
really sweet.
and then he said we were talking about like who we wanted to win.
Hmm.
And he wanted De Niro, again, another dad favorite is De Niro.
He was
Um,
great. He was
he was
despicable.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic.
And I said, yeah, but Downey hasn't won yet, you know. And he goes, true, but I'll always root for my guys, Robert D and Al P. I don't know what's going on with the last name, like shorties, but and
Maybe
that
they're
was
like, I don't know how to spell it, so I'm just gonna stay safe.
and then that was before Al Pacino came out when he said that. So then when he did come out, he goes, my boy Al Hart.
Yes, yes.
And then Killers of the Flower Moon got nothing, thumbs down, which
Thumbs down.
I feel with that. So yeah, that's about it.
I
That's
guess
about it.
the audience was, they did reach all the age groups.
Moms
Then,
and
if you think
dads,
about it,
moms,
yeah.
dads, me,
Yep.
my brothers don't have cable, so you know they didn't watch it. But you know
That's
that's I
okay.
mean that's like a third of our family, basically.
That's right. They
Half
did.
of our family.
Yeah, by all accounts, it's a true success, even if it's not perfect. And we always have next year. I'm just hoping that we can get some good course corrections so that when we hit the 100th Oscars, it's like an amazing year,
I'd give this
both in
Oscars
movies and
like a B
telecast.
if I had to grade it. Solid B.
Yeah,
Thought it was pretty good.
B plus maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I agree. All right, cool. Let's remind the people where they can find us.
Get your fix and follow the show at We Stay Buff on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and on Twitch at The Buffs. We'll be covering Watchmen next week. For those of you who are keeping tabs on that, we're still going to cover it. Zack Snyder's Watchmen coming soon. Follow me at Misfit_Minded on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, on Twitter at Rampage_Misfit, and my website, misfitminded.com.
Take us for a ride and subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And please leave a review. 5 stars would make my dreams come true. You can follow me on all the socials at It's Me, Shani B. Thanks again for listening to this recap. We'll catch you next week for another edition of Movie Buffs. Stay buff. All right, later, man.